everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about Vodia PBX version 68, possibly the most comprehensive update we've ever done. We'll go over the new features, improvements, and enhancements available in this version, and why everybody should upgrade to it when they can. I've also got our senior engineer, Hamil Collado, in the call, so he'll be chiming in with some valuable information for you all as well. And all right, so let's jump in. One thing we've done in version 68 is to introduce a new naming convention. We feel the new names line up better with what's out there in the industry today. We've changed domains to now be called tenants. It's what they are and should help eliminate any confusion people have had up until now. Also, we've changed the references to agent groups or ACD to queues, and hunk groups are now ring groups. The front-end portal or app can now play the ringtone just like Voip phones. In the browser, we recommend to allow audio elements to play even without user interaction, depending on the browser. The device selected for ringing can be independent from the audio device for the conversation, which makes it easier to alert users with headsets on. And you can see how this is done in the portal or Windows app. You go to settings, and then from the three dots in the middle, you're going to choose preferences. Scroll down to choose speaker for ringtone and choose which audio output device you want to use for the ringtone. On the front end, we now have an option for a peer-to-peer video call. This is not for video conferencing, which may come later, but for now it is for a one-to-one peer-to-peer video call. When clicking the three dots next to a person's name in the user portal or Windows app, you now see an option for audio call or video call. You'll also see that option in the Android mobile app when clicking on an extension or a PBX contact.
Now, Eric, on this for the Vodia video, I just want to be clear on version 68. This is still in beta. You can use it from peer to peer. You will maybe you'll see some issues with how the size of the video, which this is something we're working on for the Windows app and the web portal. So you'll be able to see video feed. But again, this is something we're working on. And if you have any questions about it, you can send us an email at support@vodia.com. Just wanted to mention that. That's all.
Now, if you go into the Queues tab and you have the right permissions, you'll now see that the right window has been separated into two, waiting calls and connected calls. And you have the ability to pop out the connected call into a separate window where you can right click to get options to barge, listen, teach, connect, or disconnect the call. Plus, that streamlined window can be used to add an entry into the address book. Now, in the user portal and Windows app, instead of having to scroll through a long list, you can view the extensions and groups in multiple extension columns, making it an easier and better view to work with and to keep extensions, favorites, and groups more organized.
Now, this for the group is a domain function. Can you go back to the previous one?
Yes, heading back to that.
Hmm.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric. Uh, so the new extension column, as Eric mentioned, in order for you to see this on the user portal, we have something called groups, and the groups are domain specific. You have permissions from barging in, listening to a call, mixing audio, as well as seeing the presence of other users. Um, but if you create a group to see a specific user, you'll see an icon as shown on the slide, and you'll see those specific groups only. But it needs to be done on the domain level under setting groups in order for you to have this functionality.
All right. In the user portal and Windows app, we've also improved the search functionality and now include voicemail transcription built in. So at a quick glance now, you can see the message that was left. This is really cool. And from personal experience, I can tell you that the transcription is pretty much spot on. So it's
Yeah,
very
and I
seamless.
I do see Eric use this a lot when I'm sitting next to him. Um, to set up the transcription on the Vodia PBX, you'll need a Google account, preferably Google Cloud, would allow you to create a um, basically a identifier. So you need to create that, and also you need to turn on or enable text to speech on your Google Cloud platform. They will provide you with an API key that you will plug that in into the Vodia PBX under network under notification messages. You'll be able to choose the Google text to speech there and then add your API key. Again, that's provided by them. We just transcribe it here, as Eric mentioned, on the user portal, and you'll also get a voicemail with the transcription as well.
All right, thanks, Emma. With conferences, you can now see all the participants in a conference call, and with the right permission, you can now remove participants from the list as well. You'll notice on the user portal and Windows app that you can now see the park orbits. You can actually drag and drop to park a call and click the park orbit to retrieve the call. You can see the video playing out there, parking a couple of calls, and then clicking the one that you want to take back, and that'll go ahead and retrieve the call.
Now, in order for this to work, Eric, they're going to need to create the park orbits on the domain itself.
Yep.
Having those park orbits available on the domain, you will also see it here on the user portal. As Eric mentioned, you have to be on a call to drag that call into a park orbit. Um, and when you see it green, uh, green it is for someone else. As you can see here, the difference, it'll turn into a different extension. Those two mean that the user can pick those up from a different account. So I just wanted to mention that the accounts need to be created on the PBX as well.
Yeah, once they're created, then they populate the fields here, so you'll actually see
Exactly.
them. Yep,
Exactly.
gotcha. You'll notice also that in the call list, you'll see both the internal extension and the external number of the user, if that's what is called. So that's going to show up on the call list. Back to the groups, Hamlet was talking a little bit about this before. When creating a group, you can now define multiple permissions, such as which extension has rights to see or activate a function, like playing back recordings. Groups are really now user permissions roles, along with the ability to define which extensions can see other extensions on the user portal or the Windows app. A lot of additions and improvements with the queues. When using parallel ring, there's no longer a delay in connecting that second call. When the caller is on hold, Vodia now validates the callback number or allows the caller to enter a different number to call back if they choose that. And the callback prompt can be based on a time threshold value. In other words, if the wait time reaches a certain threshold, only then will the callback option be offered. The queue call history can be downloaded as a CSV. There's now an option too to send a daily email with all kinds of queue stats and reports included in it. Also fix some issues with the timestamp for logging in and out, and for the action based on maximum number of calls in the queue. Next couple of slides just show visuals of what these new features look like. This is showing the ability to download the queue data as a CSV. And here's a quick look at the new queue report email that can go out to the call center managers. Phone numbers that you enter are now automatically reformatted to include spaces. Because of that, when you're entering phone numbers or DIDs in the appropriate fields, you need to use a semicolon, then a space as a separator. Presentation of numbers in the call log has been improved as well, and no longer displays the number twice.
Also, Eric, just to mention, when you add the area code of the tenant, once you type in, for example, on an extension DID, let's say 978, and then 7 digits, we reformat that, and the you'll see the 978 or the area code is not there because we're stripping it because we already have it on the domain level, meaning you'll be able to dial a 7 digit number and we'll put the area code in front.
That's a nice plus.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And something that's been requested a lot, so I know there'll be some happy people on this call, is the ability to import a DID list from a CSV. That's now supported. And we've also fixed the way that numbers in the UK are presented so that it'll look as it should as far as spaces and grouping of numbers there. We've made Do Not Disturb more relevant, as it's not just an on or off thing. Users can now not only set a reason, but also can set the duration. This will avoid that, oops, I forgot to turn off DND excuse for why the user's not taking any more calls. The duration can be set in minutes, hours, the rest of the day, or infinitely as it was set before. I've enhanced the log text, and by enhancing those log texts, it helps to find problems faster. The log settings can also now have an expiry time, which will automatically stop the logging after a problem is resolved. Users can now receive an email with a temporary password that they can use to log into the PBX. And once they're in, they'll be required to change that to a new password.
Also, Eric, just to really want to mention something. When the PBX operator sets up their extension, it's important for them to add their email address. Um, the reason why is that if you forget or the user forgets their password, all they need to do is enter their email into the field and then say forgot password. We will then, or the Vodia PBX will send an email to the user with some instructions, as you can see on the page, with a token, a password that you will use. Once you enter that, then you need to update the password update, so the user can enter a new password if they have to. We force it because we want to make sure that it's secure. And yeah, that's basically the new improvement we added. Then we also have two-factor authentication. You can turn that on under the security level if you want to add more security for the logging for the user and admin login. So just want to mention that.
All right. And the key there, again, make sure you put an email address when you create the user.
That's right.
All right. The system graphs and the total call minutes counter are now written to the file system so that after a restart, they're still available. And the midnight email that contains the graphs got a little facelift as well. The QR code for the pairing with the mobile apps can now have a time limitation. So this will improve security as well and make the code shorter too. We've improved service flags so that now you can define whether action is taken when in an active state or when not active. This has always been a bit confusing, but with settings for business hours, holidays, and certain hours during the day, we hope it's clearer now. And again, these service flags can be used on multiple accounts. So, for example, a flag for the office hours could be used in active state for redirecting calls in the auto attendant to a mailbox, and at the same time used for allowing cell phone twinning during the office hours. So that one service flag can be used in multiple places. The conference recordings now happen with the shared conference audio, not just the moderator audio. These recordings are saved in the tenant recordings folder and can be accessed similar to a regular call recording. We've also added the feature to automatically mute conference participants upon entrance to the conference.
Yeah, just one more thing on the conference. Obviously, the PBX administrator or the domain administrator needs to create the conference or an ad hoc conference or a schedule conference to use this feature. And it can also be used as a schedule conference on the user portal, which you will have these new features available to you.
Faxing. So we've long supported receiving an incoming fax to an email account, but you can now also send a fax from the user portal or Windows app. The SIP trunk you're using has to support T38 for this to work properly. And if by chance the PBX receives an incomplete page, it'll disconnect the call so the sender can try again.
Also, Eric, they also need to make sure that the SIP trunk provider supports T38, and many of them do. Some of them, what they do is they'll create a SIP account and use the ATA for that. But this is no longer needed because now you can send faxes out of the PBX. Um, this is kind of semi-beta. I mean, it works. Just make sure that the SIP trunk provider does support T38 or the number that you're going to use as a fax number has T38 enabled. Sometimes we do forget that where some numbers on a SIP trunk portal has it turned off. If they don't support T38, um, you might want to find a provider that does support it. I know many of them do, and some of them say they do, but they don't support it very well. So before you do your due diligence, I will research who can do it. If you want to use your provider you have now for testing, that can you can do that as well. But if it doesn't work, because I've tested this extensively with different providers, and it works great. So I would just check with the provider first, or check your GUI on your trunk portal to turn T38 on.
All right. And previously there were some fields missing when you set conditions in the queue to add more agents. Now all those fields are being shown, so it's complete.
About this one here, let's go a slide. Yeah, let's go on this one. This is a pretty cool feature because the conditions, this particular setting is or feature is in the call queue. And basically, what it does is you can add certain conditions and parameters based on an incoming call. Let's say the agents are very busy. You can add these conditions to either add more agents or send a call to a different area of the PBX based on how long the call was on hold, um, based on different conditions. And what's cool about it, the color code will be seen on the user portal. So whether it be red, green, navy, you can choose whatever color you want there. But it does give you more information as a queue manager to what's going on in the call queue. So I just wanted to mention that, Eric. So
Yeah,
they
even at a quick glance, because now just the color codes is going to give you all kinds of information right away before you even dig deeper into it. So, yep,
exactly, yeah.
definitely a plus. All right. On the mobile apps, you'll now see, you'll only see the option for external SMS MMS if you have an approved carrier on the PBX. So that's going to eliminate the confusion of thinking you can message a contact when you actually can't because the carrier's not approved for that. The counter of missed calls was sometimes off a little. We fixed that. And on the Android app, the wake up time is quicker now, so there's no delay there. And you can even set your phone to vibrate on an incoming call as well. There can now be multiple custom trunk headers. We worked on some trunk settings for Quest Blue as well. Trunk side. And we've also added the Skyetel trunk template.
About Skyetel, you might want to reference or check our other videos that we have on Skyetel on how to set up the Skyetel trunk as well as the SMS trunking. We'll provide that on this video so you guys can go directly there and see how that works.
Perfect. And now we have a bulk button assignment for VoIP phones. So this is going to save the Vodia operator from having to assign this to each extension on a separate page. You can just do the bulk button assignment for the phone itself right there on one page in one place.
And what's cool about this here is that you can also choose, once you create your superset for your phones, you might have many phones. You can create different templates for all your phones, and then you can tell Vodia to use that template, particular template for that phone, has the default. So when that phone provisions, let's say a Yearling phone provisions to the Vodia PBX, we'll be able to see that it's a T27 and use that default template that you've created in the domain level and provision those buttons. So you can save a lot of time when deploying your phones for your customer using this feature.
Definitely. Right. Users can now choose from the built-in ringtones in the user portal, so you can pick which ringtone you want to play on a call. So we've got some choices there already built in. We added support for the VVX601, which was missing. That's Polycom, and then added support for Avaya phones J169 and J179. And then we fixed the Grandstream buttons for almost all the models where some VPK behavior had changed. So that's all fixed. And we fixed the HTTP password for provisioning for certain models and the LDAP setup. So did a lot of fixes and updates on the Grandstream phones. And as Hamlet mentioned earlier, if you do have a support inquiry, just send your request to support@vodia.com, or you can open up tickets at vodia.zamad.com. Documentation is doc.vodia.com/software, gets you to the software page. And for anything onboarding or sales related, you can always contact us at sales@vodia.com.
Hey, Eric, one thing I do want to mention, if you guys need more information about the release notes, you can go to vodia.com under resources. And we have all of the release notes for all the versions we've ever had, especially version 68. And then you can go through each of the ticks before you upgrade. Also, I want to do mention that when you do upgrade to your to version 68, to make a backup of your PBX, or just make an image, copy a snapshot image on AWS. However, they do it, but it's very important that you do back up your system before you upgrade, or if you're going to use it on your sandbox before you deploy it for your customers. So just wanted to mention that. This is a great webinar, Eric. Good job.
Thank you, Hamlet. You as well. I appreciate everybody's time today, and this will be available on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check it out again if you have any other questions, or like Hamlet mentioned, you can look at the release notes for every version, of course, including version 68. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
All right, Eric. See you later.